area east of Loch Ness is a great place to know about for winter bouldering in Scotland. While in Lochaber we get a really wet autumn and winter, over in the east it's much drier and the climate is a lot more friendly for getting out rock climbing right through the winter. Like anywhere in Scotland, there are more projects than I could ever do, and many that will keep me going for a long time to come. In October of 2019, Rob Thomas and Stuart Goodwin showed me a little area on the slopes of Mael Gorum which they had called Rooftown. There are many boulders, but one in particular stood out to me as being really nice. I added a couple of great first ascents to this boulder, but the obvious main line was straight up the centre of the boulder. I was particularly attracted to try it precisely because I knew it would be very hard for me, comparatively speaking. There wasn't going to be much opportunity to get weight on my feet, which is something I usually lean on quite heavily to get up really hard climbs. So although I felt this climb might not have the hardest grade, I knew it would be really tough for me and might take me a very long time. The crux move was pulling off this really small undercut over your head, and I focused on just trying that on its own by climbing up the slab on the right. That was almost it. No man. Yes! It took me a good number of sessions just to do this move in isolation, and then I started trying it from the stand start and quickly found that that added a lot more difficulty. Standing up into the undercut and being in the right position was really difficult. Middle of November, I'm back at my project at Rooftown. This is the first time I've been back here since, what would it be, the 15th or the 17th of March or something like that. Anyway, that day I got really close to doing the stand start of this, and it was the best session I had on the project. And then on the drive home that evening I listened to the Prime Minister Boris Johnson announcing the lockdown, which came into force straight afterwards, and that was that for the season. I've done like half a dozen boulder sessions since June, really, since the kind of tail end of the first lockdown. And although I feel good, and when I've been on my board a handful of times I feel good, and I certainly feel good on the tribe climbs that I've been doing, but it's not quite the same as actual bouldering. I must admit that I'm a little bit nervous about it, and a little bit apprehensive that I'll just be really weak on it. I don't know if I'll have that precision and have that explosivity and just have that raw power. But there's only one way to get it back, isn't there? Just got to get on and try it. So I'm not expecting much from today's session. When I started back on the project, at first I felt really good and as close as I had been in the spring, but I actually started to go backwards on it, in part because the little undercut started to deteriorate a little bit, with some of the sharp crystals that provided the friction started to break off, and that just seemed to make standing up into the move much more difficult. I'm always trying to look for technical solutions to boulder problems because I don't have a great deal of strength, and so I spent a lot of time trying to work out good footwork to get a drop knee to get more weight on my feet. This did actually work, and I did find another way to do the move, but unfortunately again, trying to get into that position from the start just proved to be impossible, and it just really wasn't working. From experience, I usually find that there is always a technical solution, you just need to keep looking until you find it. But as the sessions went on and I still couldn't find another method that worked, I started to think that maybe this one was different and it was a pure power problem. Certainly someone with very strong fingers and who is good at undercutting will not find this move difficult. I had gone long past the point where I thought I had exhausted every possible option, and it was just crazy to keep trying to look for more foothold options. How many foothold options can there be in one move? But perhaps not surprisingly, when I did keep going back to experimentation mode, I did find another way to get into a drop knee with my feet really quite high. That was the closest I've ever been. It seemed really unlikely before I actually tried it, but once I did, I immediately knew that that was the way that it was going to go for me. I started trying again from the start, but despite the improved beta, I still just couldn't quite get up into the position strongly enough to execute the move. I did though sometimes feel that even when I was pretty tired and I knew my power level had gone down significantly, I still had some attempts where I felt really close to doing it. And I understood that I was in that narrow window between almost success and success. Oh, honest to God, I just need to hit that hold. So close. I think that these moments on projects are really the time to focus in and apply every bit of effort and concentration and logistics to try to make it happen. Oh, yes. Woo. Ah, finally got it done. That's amazing. Oh. Last 4 sessions I knew it was I just needed to keep showing up. It's just so hard to get the right conditions on that little undercut. It was always so glassy and I just felt like I've got the strength to pull on it, but there's no friction. I'm just sliding off it. So as you stand up, fingers just go and slide off the bottom, especially your little finger. So I've been like putting my fingers in the mud and trying to wear some skin down and blowing on them to get some moisture on. And that definitely worked. And this combination of it's been in the sun for a couple of hours and the sun just went down 10 minutes ago. So the rock is still sort of halfway between warm and cold, but the air's immediately turned cold, and it's just spot on. And that just felt just as I hoped it would feel. Brilliant. So happy. You know, I always sort of start with the intention of posting videos of me trying projects on this channel as I'm actually doing them. And sometimes I do that, sometimes I feel totally comfortable with that. Occasionally though I don't, and this has been one of them. You'll notice that I've not posted about this for some time. The last time I did discuss it was just after Christmas, when I was saying that I wasn't really getting on very well. And since then, finally finding the way to do the drop knee for the crux that actually worked and I could get weight on my feet, I did manage to find a technical solution, and that's why I've done it. I've not really got a lot stronger, although I do definitely feel strong. But since I found that beta change, I did really realise I can do this, I can make this happen. And so I had to keep showing up, but I was still failing on it for the last sort of 4 or 5 sessions. And so I was in that, what's like that sort of narrow space between almost success and success, where it's right there and you need to take it. And this might sound kind of funny, but I almost like don't want to speak about the climb. I just want to do. I'm sorry if that comes across as cheesy, but it's really how I feel. Like I haven't felt like I wanted to speak about it or even think about it that much in between actually coming to try it. I realised that I'd kind of stripped away all the questions. I knew I had the sequence. I knew I had enough strength to do it. I just needed to find that good attempt, good conditions, good skin on those fingers for that undercut, and then the right attempt with few mistakes. And it's almost like I do sometimes feel like I have to eliminate all other thoughts and just focus on the execution. And so I didn't really want to talk about it at all. I just wanted to keep coming here and try it until that attempt happened, which it did a few minutes ago. But I think it's interesting that even within one person, me, depending on different climbs, I sometimes feel differently about how I approach them. Of course, there is always another project, and there's an obvious roof start that adds on about 5 or 6 more moves into the stand start. Although this section is not as hard as the upper part, it will certainly make the undercut move feel really tough again. Yes! That's good. Right, I've got to try this now. It's a good feeling to be able to get onto that head wall. Before, when I would do the start, I'd get to the first move of the stand start and just be like, oh, no way, I just feel like I want to stop. But there, I felt fine. Oh, game on, right, the next project. It is too late, I think, to try this now, because it's just going to get warmer. You know, it's May, like next week. You know, you always have that thought, like, could you just keep trying it now? I mean, I could come and have more sessions just for the confidence, but if I tried to commit to actually doing it, I know that I'd run out of conditions and time, and it just gets frustrating. I'd probably be better to just say, do some training over the summer, hit it in mid-September, just at the start of when it gets good again, and then it's just going to get colder. But that's good, that's like 2 weeks completely off climbing. I am not fit, and I'm getting right up to that move. Gotta try it now, just got to.